We're waiting to get online. Welcome to tonight's school board meeting, and we'll get going here. Are you ready? Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone. Weather's a little bad out there for everybody, and Bill's under the weather, so I'm running the meeting tonight. So bear with us here, and we'll get through this. And we'll start off with the approval meeting minutes of the regular school board meeting of February 24, 2026. We have a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of February 24th, 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions or comments or corrections on it?
I wasn't here, but I read them,
And
so. Yep.
kind of what went on then, Mike? Real good. Okay, with no further comments, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes of February 24th, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, we're gonna get going with the adopt tonight agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay. No corrections or additions?
We had one addition last minute, the amendment number 3 to Agnetics voice contract.
Okay, so that's on the agenda here for second posting, so everything looks good. All in favor of adopting tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We have an agenda. Any public comments or questions? Anyone sign up for that?
No.
Nope. Okay, real good. Well, so our first order of business is Spotlight on Success, and it comes from our Inside School of Washington with Myron and Shay here.
And for those who don't know me, I'm Myron Hammond. I'm the director of Inside Washington. I've been with the school since 2011. So I'm excited to be here. I live in Puyallup, and normally I attend this remotely. So it's always fun to come up to Forks and check it out. And this is Sheila Schiebler. She is our portfolio vice president. She actually is out of California. So she and I kind of support the school together. And so just kind of wanted to kind of highlight some things that have been happening inside Washington and kind of walk through kind of where we're at, what we're doing, and some changes that we've been doing. So we're going to kind of start by looking at some enrollment pieces, some enrollment trends along the way. So the first slide on enrollment kind of walks you through the this one right here. So this one kind of walks through. If you look at this, this kind of shows year over year from 2022 to 2026. I know the numbers are kind of small. They're harder to see in the back for everybody, but basically we've actually increased enrollment by about close to almost 1,000 students to 2022. And a lot of that growth is actually happening in our middle school and our elementaries that we started during COVID. The high school enrollment stayed about the same year over year. This year so far, when I pulled the data, we have already enrolled 1,400 students that are new to our school this school year. And these are students all the way throughout the entire state of Washington, including some here in Forks. But we have students throughout the entire state that are attending our program. You can go to the next one. We actually have, like every other school, we support students in all populations, so that the green line by grade band, that gray line is, or the green line is the students that have Section 504 plans. That's about 6% of our population. The taller yellow line are the students that we're serving that have IEPs. We have a functional skills program in K-5, a functional skills program in middle school, and a functional skills program in high school, in addition to our standard special education program. It's about 20% of our population qualifies for special education services. And so these students receive all their services from either our certified teachers, or we contract with related service providers throughout the state of Washington to provide speech therapy, occupational therapy, other therapies that students might need.
And so for the average school in Washington State, I think the average range is about 15 to 17%. So we're a little higher than
And what
state
actually
average.
happens is a lot of our special ed kids our special education families love us and they don't like to leave. Because they find that they get much better attention and much better one-on-one service through the online environment than they were getting in their neighborhood programs. And our functional skills program, especially, those kids really like our program. They really enjoy it. And it seems to meet a lot of their needs because some of those students really struggled, and depending on the population, right? But some of those kids can struggle more in a physical and a classroom environment where they can be kind of more online, tends to help them a lot more. And then we also have an EL population. It's about 7% of our population. One of the things that we notice in supporting all of our kids is one of the things you'll see a little bit later is we do a lot of data. We have tons of data, lots of data dashboards. And one of the things that we look at is how do we support these new enrollments? Because we're enrolling kids almost every 2 weeks. And one of the things that we noticed in looking at our data for the past few years is we used to approve like on a Wednesday with those students starting classes on a Monday. And what we found that by doing that is that we often, those families were not ready on Monday. They didn't have a chance to get to know our platform. Our warehouses couldn't ship everything fast enough to their homes. They couldn't get computers. So this year, what we did is we built in what's called a week of welcome. We do our last approval still on a Wednesday. Then Thursday and Friday, we get all of the orders in for those families. Then on Monday, the homeroom teacher reaches out to them to do their welcome call. They start working on their introduction to online learning class in the online school. And then that whole week is kind of getting ready to go to school. So that gives time for shipments to be delivered, for laptops to be delivered. We also can make sure everything is in place, and then they start their instruction that following Monday. And what we're finding by doing this is we have a lot fewer students than what we call non-starters, where they basically failure to launch. They don't start school. This has allowed us to do a lot more interventions and try to help kids get going. This kind of shows students in Forks that are attending our program. We actually have 4 groups now instead of just 3. Right now we have 2 students in our K-5 program, and I pulled the data, 4 in our middle school program, 5 in the high school program. And then we have 4 students that we call CTE only. So these are students that are actually in the Homeschool Plus program right now. And they are taking CTE classes through us, through an arrangement we have with the school district. And those students are taking classes in anatomy and physiology. They're taking digital literacy, Photoshop, and business and market exploration. That allows them to get CTE credits that we can offer Forks students that may not be available at Forks High School. I don't think you're off those classes, right? No. Okay. All right. I want to make sure we're not duplicating what you're doing. So, as you can look at program enrollment, this kind of is a different view of the different types of programs we have. We have that dark blue is college and career prep, where that's our focus of our school. So most of our population in grades 6 to 12 are part of that program. Credit recovery. We have 2 programs that are one through Graduation Alliance, which does all of subjects but career and technical education. And then we actually offer our own credit recovery courses in math, science, social studies, and English. So we have about 485 students right now in those kinds of courses in our high school program. We have, just like Forks High School, we have our full-time Ready Start kiddos, our part-time Ready Start kiddos. We actually have some esports teams. They are competing in Marvel Rivals, Minecraft, Fortnite, and chess. And the games they compete in nationwide are based on grade bands. So like the middle school kids are going to be, they're not on those RPG games. They're kind of more like in the chess and the less mature games, if you will. And then the high schoolers in those other games. And there's an age limit where they have to be at least 13 to be compliant with federal regulations. And then we have, this year we launched a product called K-12 Tutoring. This is actually really cool. We have a K-12 reading guarantee. And guarantees all of our kids can read. So students that were struggling with reading, we've actually given them this opportunity for one-on-one tutoring every week with a certificated teacher. And then, so we have 31 second graders, 54 third graders, and 13 fourth graders right now in K-12 tutoring. These are an opt-in program. These kids meet with a tutor one-on-one once a week. And what we're seeing in our data right now is showing students participate in this show significant gains in reading. So we're really excited to see how this might improve our state test scores going forward and support these families. And one of our other programs is called Flex, which it provides more flexibility in attending those live sessions. And one of those qualifiers for being in Flex is that you're doing well in school. And if you're not doing well in school, we'll say, hey, you don't qualify for this flexible option anymore. You got to go back to making it real. And we'll have families say, but I don't want to lose K-12 tutoring. No, it's not going to affect your K-12 tutoring. K-12 tutoring is not changing. You're just gonna have to, you're not gonna be flex anymore. So we're excited. That was kind of cool. We talk about academic performance. One of the things I kind of want to highlight here is what we do to support our teachers. A couple weeks ago, we actually had a national conference called K-12 Promising Practices. This is a national K-12 conference done online. They do it in a virtual conference space. We had some of our teachers as presenters, but you can actually go and join live sessions, presentations. You can watch recorded sessions. It's a really gigantic all-day national professional development that our teachers participate in, and it's really cool. And then I actually attended a couple of sessions on leadership. There was, and I also watched one of our teachers, Mr. O'Neill, he's one of our esports coaches, did a session on teaching English through Minecraft. So I went and watched that. It was kind of cool. Stride PD Center. This is a Stride built professional development platform that has asynchronous and synchronous support services for teachers. They can go there, and it's actually really nice because it's built and they have everything on these little mini lessons. You don't have to watch the whole PD. You can just grab the part you want and nice sizable chunks. K-12 Teach Suite. So all of our teachers have access to this. This is a product that K-12 offers. And our teachers get it for free. It provides them access to build lessons. Some of the tools that are in the Teach Suite include ability to gamify your curriculum, use Play Pause It, which is a really cool product where you can create a YouTube video and break it up into small segments and force the students to respond to certain questions along the way. So make that YouTube more an interactive learning experience. It also has some AI lesson building tools. So they can take anything in Teach Suite and then immediately publish it to Canvas for those students to use in our classroom.
This is all done online, right?
Yeah.
Everything. I mean,
Everything online.
Even when you do a one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? Just get a hold of the student and say,
We do, we'll set up, like when we do we have a platform called Engagely. It's kind of like a Zoom for education, basically. And our students can be in a large group setting in an Engagely session, or they can be in a one-on-one setting with teachers. They can have cameras on, they can share whiteboards, they can draw on the screen, they can do interactive activities, interactive lessons through Engagely. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What's really cool in the Engagely platform as well is it's set up like a virtual classroom where every student, when they arrive into the session, they're assigned a table group. And the teacher can move the session into table mode where the students actually interact only with their table members. And then the teacher can actually go in and peek on the table, like you would in a classroom, right? You walk around and peek on the table and see what's going on. You actually can join the table and figure out what's going on. And what's really cool in table mode is when the teacher's speaking from the podium, everybody hears it just like they would in the classroom, but they only can hear their peers that are in their actual table group. So yeah. And,
cool.
and then very similar to what you guys are doing with your PLC model, with PLCs at work, we've been doing that work for a number of years at Inside Washington. So all of our teachers run PLCs. They look at formative data. They build common classroom assessments. They review those assessments and use that to drive instruction. So yeah, it's all online. So these next few slides, and just to kind of give you some context, these kind of go through how we fit on the state report card for the 2025 proficiency. You'll see on here that our proficiency data is not strong. We have areas of definite improvement, and we're doing some things this year to try to address those things. And then going to next year, our entire, what we call our playbook as a company is really focused in on improving student outcomes. And so we're working on making some significant changes going to next year as well. One of the things that also impacts this, just so that you just kind of keep out there, is that the state expects 95% participation on state assessment. Any school in the state, if a student does not assess, if they're part of the group that is calculated for proficiency, all those non-assessed kids count as basically not passing the test. And so we only had school-wide grades 3 through 10, about 78% show up for state testing. And for us, it's really difficult because we have to do everything in person. So we have to rent facilities, we have to get kids agreeing to take their families agreeing to take their kids there to these facilities throughout the state. And so it can be difficult. One of the things we're really looking forward to is this year we're able to do online testing. We were able to get that law passed. We're part of a pilot program where we'll be able to assess 750 students online with the SBA and the WACUS remotely. So we're hoping that's going to really help us to get that number closer to 95%. So
How many testing sites do you run?
I wanted to say off the top of my head, it's about 13 to 20 sites throughout the state.
Where's the closest one here?
The one that we've done at the Gardner Center there in Sequim is probably the closest one to here.
And just so to give you some, what I would know would be anecdotal information. So any of our kids, we allow them to come test in their home school district. Some school districts do not.
No.
They charge us money, even though that's their resident home school. And
some of
so
them charge.
it might
unfortunately,
be
they
that
charge
kids
fees.
don't have transportation to the testing site, so there's some barriers. And I think that's really why the state is allowing us to pilot a testing program from the home to see how it goes, because they recognize the challenges that our families might have if they live out in the middle of nowhere and have to drive all the way into wherever, Squim. They may not be able to make it. The parents may not have that opportunity.
And even with the number of sites we have, we still have families that are just too far away from those physical locations. And the other thing that can happen is, we do it over a multiple week period. So like at Forks High School, for example, or at Forks Middle School or your elementary schools, typically those students are all going to test within the same week. You have a very scheduled, okay, everybody's doing math this day, everybody's doing science this day. What we have to do is we have 5 mobile labs that run through the entire state. And so every day we may be in different parts of the state. So it's like planning a gigantic,
Yeah.
it's like planning
Travel.
multiple wedding events. We actually have a program called Test Your Nirvana that actually, where kids go do their confirmations, kind of like a wedding registry kind of thing, like, kind of save the date kind of thing. We do the same thing for Test Your Nirvana. Here's your location, here's your doing. We have our teachers kind of communicating with families, but it's still a lot. Because something can go wrong and they can't make it that day. Maybe they got sick. And by the time they're well enough, maybe we've left that part of town. Right? So it just becomes much more challenging for us.
How many people do you have keeping track of this?
We have a testing coordinator that uses Testing Nirvana to manage a lot of this. She actually secures all of our testing contracts. And then our entire staff, when we're in state testing assistance, all hands on deck. And so everybody's assigned a role, whether that's offsite support, where once the attendance is taken at the site, people will log into Testing Nirvana and look at, let's say I'm supporting the swim site, I'll say who hasn't shown up, I'll start making phone calls. Hey, your child's supposed to be at swim testing today. And so a text message will call. One of the other challenges we had last year during state testing is the phone vendor we had didn't follow our paperwork and we lost access to text messaging during testing. But we've now changed vendors, and so we should be fine this year. We're excited.
Because there's a lot of students.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Like,
It's a huge lift. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
yeah, it would be.
It's a lot. It's a huge lift. So we actually have we have our preliminary draft or schedule. So we're going to be starting testing confirmations very soon, where we'll do electronic emails out to all the families. We'll have the homeroom teachers calling to confirm, and then the day before testing, we'll send them, hey, don't forget you have testing tomorrow. We'll send them like site maps, how to get to your location, what to do once you get there. Yeah, it's pretty intense. So anyway, you'll notice that we are really, what's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, when I was in school, I probably would have did that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of families they get a lot of, well, the other thing too is that these kids are going to an environment they don't know, right? And so there's that whole fear.
Yeah.
Are we really getting an accurate measure of their assessment? Because they're not where they normally are going to school. It's a new environment. It may not necessarily be the most comfortable environment, because sometimes we do the best we can, but it's a lot of times we're in conference rooms, right? It's not necessarily student friendly. We try to make it as student friendly as we can, but it's not as difficult. And so where we're hopeful too is what the data shows, what K-12 has done, as we've done this nationally, is that students that test in the environment they're comfortable in perform better. And so we anticipate that remote testing is going to really actually show us a more accurate measure of our student performance as well. So these are the green boxes on all these slides are the state data from the school report card. And then the yellow boxes are what we're showing in the STAR 360. Is very similar to, I think you guys use IXL or iReady here. It's similar to that. So these are the proficiency rates based on what we call our MOI, our middle of year assessment. And then the percent of making growth on the bottom, that's the percent of our students are actually showing growth right now from the BOI assessment they took in September to the MOI assessment they're taking right now. For K-5 interventions, this year we actually have, for math, we're doing small group instruction. We also use MobiMax as an asynchronous practice tool. MobiMax is a really cool tool because it scales with that student. So that student is doing really, really poorly. We'll start them off in low levels, and students can actually exceed beyond their ability, right? Which is awesome because they can use it for enrichment. So it can be used from both ends. for remediation and enrichment. And we use MobiMax in our middle school and our elementary. In the language arts, we have small group reading instruction. We have using Orton Gillingham. We have the Mira, asynchronous practice. So Mira is an online reading tool where kids go into a Mira. We also use that for a dyslexia screener, where kids will go into a Mira, they can read stories, and the more stories they read, then ask them like comprehension questions, that kind of thing. So it's an asynchronous tool. And then we have a reading interventionist that works in K3, and then we have our K12 tutoring for all. So middle school language arts, one of the things I do want to highlight here is that on language arts, we actually increased by 5 points in grade 6 in language arts this last year compared to last year's grade 6. So that was really cool. I'll be going to middle school math. We saw increases also in grade 6 and 7 year over year in middle school math. Middle school grade 8 was about the same, a little bit of a drop. But you can see here that we're still showing really strong growth. And so we're hopeful that a lot of the work we're doing to support our math instruction and our math teachers is going to help us show additional growth when it comes time for state assessments. And then for middle school math interventions right now, we have small group instruction. We use MobiMax, and then we've hired a math interventionist who's working with students one-on-one to try to improve their math skills. In the language arts, we have small group instruction. We're also using a language arts interventionist. She's focusing a lot on writing skills with these students because writing is such a big part of the Smarter Balance assessment. And then going into next year, we're actually adding, I should add, in both K5 and middle school, we're adding a math coach and an English coach to help support our teachers, instructional coaches. So we're adding a math and English coach in K5 and a math and English coach in middle school going into next year to help support the huge lift in improving math and reading instruction in K5. Then our high school, we have our graduation rate was only 46%, but keep in mind that one of the things that's a huge challenge for us with the graduation rate are the students that come to us because they don't want to go to the local school and then don't want to go to us anymore. And then they never go anywhere when they leave. And so that's one of the reasons why that number is what it is. So like right now, we're projecting 51% graduation rate, assuming all of our kids we have on track to graduate will graduate this year. They start with us thinking, hey, online is going to be easy, and they realize that it's not easy, but they don't want to go back to the local school. And so then they are no longer a drop off for the local school district because they transfer to us. Because they transferred to us and didn't transfer back, we have to take them as a drop.
So Myron and I have been in discussion about how we could better support that, maybe with a district position that would track the kids down really. We did this with a grant during COVID.
Yeah, with the semester dollars, yeah.
Hoping to figure out how we can better. It's really about a data catch-up game.
And trying to engage these kids with students. Because the other thing that can happen too is some of these students may go into, and this is where, if they hit a Cedars reporting school, it's easy for us to find them. So if they hit like another school district that's reporting to Cedars, those are not hard to find. Where it's trickier is if they're hitting any of the open door schools connected to community college programs that don't report to Cedars. And if they don't tell us they've gone to those programs, we can't count them as a transfer. But if we can somehow figure out, hey, oh, you chose Fresh Start in Tacoma Community College. Oh, if I get proof of that, I can count you as a transfer because you transferred to a state-funded K through 12 program. But some of the open doors programs that are not connected to school districts that report to Cedars, it's harder for us to get that information.
We've got the enrollment center helping out.
Yeah, and we have also, thank you, Sheila. We actually have our K-12 enrollment center. This is kind of a downtime for them. So they're actually calling all of our kids that we don't know where they're at, trying to see if they can figure out what's going on with those kids. So.
And Myron shared the data with me to give you kind of an idea. It's about 400 kids.
Yeah, it's a pretty
It's a
big
lot.
number.
It's a chunk.
It's a pretty big number because if they touch us, if they're part of the core 2026, so if they came like their 9th grade year and they never went back to a school, they can drop out for us. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal. So what we try to do is we try to intervene as well at the classroom level when they're withdrawing, like what school are you going to go to? Can we keep you here? No, because if I keep them here, then I know what's going on. If they choose to leave, I don't know where they're at. So, or we don't know where they're at as a school. So for math, we're doing intervention sessions based on Star through 60 in high school and then course placement And then we do the same thing for English. One of the things that I want to point out here for graduation is as we were moving from semester 1 to semester 2, our counselor raised a red flag, our counseling team. And I brought in our lead counselor, our math department head, and our principal. And we looked at it together, and because we figured out there's a lot of kids that failed math semester 1 that could not graduate because there was not an option for them to make up that credit semester 2. And so we actually created a whole new math class on the fly to support those kids of semester 2 so they could complete that 1 credit in semester 2. So we try to be responsive to the data as quickly as we can. One of the other things that we do as a school is we have a monthly data review using what K-12 calls the DIAO framework. It's data, insights, measurable actions, and outcomes. So the data is what is your data showing you? Kind of what is that data? It's basically a raw data dump. What does the data look like right now? And insights is what have you learned from that data? What are you seeing? Is there explanations for it or things that we need to look at or any look for that you're noticing here? And then what measurable actions you're going to take based upon what you've learned from this, and then what you expect those actions are going to do in the next 30 days. So we do this every month with Sheila and her supports team as part of the work that we do. And kind of a sample, I've given you a sample of one of the 3 slides that we do. They're pretty data intensive, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but if you go to the next slide, you'll see that we follow that measure. We have the data, insights, actions, and outcomes. And this is just 3 of the areas that we talked about here. This is what we call courses passing and students passing all. This K2 reading to that would be a mirror, and then math benchmark, which would be looking at STAR through 16 Mobimax data. And then the last 30-day actions are what we reported we were going to do in the last report. And if it's green, those are things that we did. If they're blue, those are things that we're still doing. And then the next 30-day actions, and then we have the outcomes. So it's a pretty intense deep dive. It gives us a chance to kind of look at things and see what's happening, what's not happening, and how can we kind of try to pivot quickly to support our students. And we go through every possible indicator, it feels like, in those meetings. And the last thing I want to do is I want to have something fun. There's something called the K-12 zone. So this is unique to K-12. For those that have kids that use Roblox, K-12 zone basically is like a school version of a Roblox. It's really, really cool. And there are 4 kinds of ways we use the K-12 zone. So inside Washington, we actually have a K-5 zone, a middle school zone, and a high school zone. And these are open every day where our kids can pop into the K-12 zone. They get popped in as a virtual avatar. And the zone is so cool because as they move around the zone and there's different experiences, they can click on things. There's an area where they can actually adopt a pet and raise the pet. They can, as you get to a student, as you kind of walk towards somebody in the K-12 zone, it knows that you guys are next to each other, and it will allow you guys to communicate just instantaneously. Proximity. Getting your cameras on is really, really cool. There's K-12 chat in there as well. So we have those zones. And then there's what we're called special purpose zones. These are zones that our school has built that are used for specific reasons, for our career fairs, for assemblies, for ASB events. And so we actually have customized zones for those events. And we're going to be running a career fair pretty soon. So what we'll do in the career fair zone is we'll build out these little, like a big, huge convention. And the different presenters will be in a specific space. And the system will kind of draw a virtual fence around that space. So when a student enters that space, they only can hear that presenter. And then when they leave that space, they don't hear that presenter anymore. And then the presenter is able to talk with them. They're going to interact with that presenter. So it's really kind of cool. And then we have what are called silent zones. So these don't allow any student-student interaction. They're basically, when you enter the zone, you basically can explore. You can see other people there, but you can't interact with them. You can't talk to them. But you can actually do them for learning different things. Like one of the zones I'm going to show you in a few minutes is called Camp K-12. It's an onboarding zone that walks students through how to become an online student. So we've built one of those for you to look at. We have a career center in there as well. These are again not moderated because there's nothing to moderate. They're just basically personal experiences.
Can I ask a quick
yeah.
question on this?
Uh-huh.
So you kind of mentioned like the Roblox or whatever,
Uh-huh.
which isn't, doesn't seem like it's a safe
That's a
for
great thing.
kids now, but this is protected, right?
Yes, so all of these zones require and log in to enter them. So they have to be attached. So the school zones require you to have an Insight wallet or an email address. So the only one that can join that school zone are members of our school campus. And they have to SSO into the zone from campus. If they are in the national zones, which is the next kind of zone we're talking about, where it's nationwide, those require parents to give consent if they're under the age of 13. And then they are all SSO'd into the K-12 zone, and they're all moderated. And we'll get notifications from national, hey, something's not looking right. Somebody said something that's not, that kind of raises a flag. So they have all these keywords and key terms that pop up where we'll be asked to deal with things, everything from potentially like, sometimes kids will reveal things like about self-harm, right, in these environments, which actually is nice that they have that ability for us to be flagged, and we can reach out to those families and say, hey, do you know there's an issue with this student, or are you aware of this, right? And so we'll get instantaneous tickets, and if it's highly urgent and flag really red flag, they'll actually physically call us and say, hey, you need to reach out to this kid like right now. There's something going on.
That's great.
So it's really cool.
A lot of protections in place.
Yeah,
for
and then
kids
families
and
can
safety.
opt their kid out anytime. So there's some situations where when we have a student who has quite a few negative interactions, because like school discipline, right? We have kids that don't make good choices. If there's a student that's doing that regularly, often we'll either remove them from the zone and we'll block them from it, so their login won't work anymore. Or sometimes the family will say, I don't want my kid in this because they can't make those choices yet. And so we can actually blacklist that student from the zone. Yeah, it's a pretty incredible thing. So we actually have the national zones. Those are actually grade banded K2, 3, 5, middle school and high school. And again, parents can opt out anytime and that kind of thing. So those are available for families as well. So what I like to do, if you guys want to take a chance at checking out a zone, the next slide is Explore Camp K-12. So there's a link there. If you click on that link, or if you get to that link, and I can't remember, it's zone.k12.com/ISWA-QVSD board. When it loads, I'd let you click on it. Perfect. So all you have to do is type in your name, your display name.
It's not working.
Oh, yours says something special. Hit refresh. It looks like Shannon's work.
Let me in.
And
Oh,
then
there
the
we go.
password is the word Eagles, all lowercase. And you can pick the avatar you want on the bottom. You can pick your avatar and hit sign in, and it will let you jump into choose sign in with email. No, it should let you in. So just go ahead and hit sign in. Let's see, why is it not doing this? It should let you in without. It shouldn't. Just hit enter world, not sign in. Just hit enter world, not sign in.
World.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
click OK for change your password. You don't need to do that. And then it will tell you silent mode is on.
Can I just?
Yeah,
Got
you can
it.
close that and hit
Continue.
continue.
Okay.
And that will jump you into the K-12 zone with your avatar. There we go. So we have Shannon there.
Hey
Yep.
campers, welcome to Camp K-12.
So that's kind of the,
If so, you've come to the right place. I'm Counselor David, and I'm here with my friends Strider and Dash. Here at Camp K-12, we'll teach you how to navigate your days as an online student. And every day, just like school in person, you'll communicate with your teachers, have opportunities to meet in live class connects with your teachers and classmates, complete assignments, and even interact with friends. Today, we're going to show you all the tools you'll need to be a successful online student. We've set up 6 stations where you'll learn all about your dashboard, your account, Class Connects, finding content, assignments, and inbox and resources. To find each one, follow the path until you see a station sign. Once you get to the station, look for the flagpole to watch a quick video. These videos are packed with helpful navigation and user tips that you'll use every day. And after you complete each video, find the backpack for a check for understanding question. Earn a camp emote that you can share with your friends in the zone. There's one for each station, so try to collect all 6. If you don't get the answers right on the first try, don't worry. Just select the backpack again to give it another try. You can also select the station resource folder for a written version of the video to save and look at later. And remember, if you ever forget what to do, just select Dash or Strider, and they'll help you out with a quick reminder.
Need some help? Select the flag.
So you can walk around in the
Thanks
sun.
to
If you
watch
click on your
videos.
avatar,
And that's
you
the
can
whole
actually,
tour. If you need more help, head over to the Help Hut in the right hook corner where you'll find tons of resources, FAQs, and links
emojis you
to
can
video
choose.
playlists.
Oh yeah, if you click on the avatar rather.
Happy camping!
You
and
can
we'll
actually
see you
get
later.
different emojis for your avatar. You can actually change how they appear and how they fly. And if you guys were in a live
Hey, campers,
zone, you actually would have a
welcome to
video
Camp
headed
K-12.
on top of you, similar
Are
to
you
that
new to
screen that
online
you see
school?
with that gentleman,
If so, you've come
where you'd be able
to the
do
right
that, and you
place.
can use your
I'm
mouse to
Counselor
navigate
David, and
the-
I'm here with my friend
Didn't he say eagle?
Yeah, Eagles,
Strider,
EAGLES,
and Dash.
without all lower cases.
Here at Camp K-12,
And
we'll
it's
teach
just
you how to
enter world.
navigate your days as an online student.
See.
And every day, just like school in person,
Let's see, let's click on the zone.
you'll communicate
Yeah, it's
with
kind of a cool
teachers,
thing.
have opportunities to meet in live class
Yeah,
connects
it
with your
should let us
teachers
know.
and classmates.
Search everything, Kevin. K.
Do you get, yeah,
And then I put
there you
Eagles,
go.
EAGLES, and then choose enter
I wanna
world.
go in the
You got
help
Flake?
Oh, that's
you
probably
got
why.
one Flake?
And then we can pick your avatar and your
I go
color.
learning coach corner.
So you can just grab your avatar, whichever one you want to use, and hit enter world. And it will dump you into the K-12 zone.
I was looking for a backpack.
Mhm.
Yeah, continue.
Where
Show
do
me
you
one.
find the backpack?
I don't know.
There
Is what
we
they
are.
talking about?
There you are.
I'm just
Yeah.
cruising along.
And so here is where you can choose, I can sit down, right? Or I can actually dance.
No.
You can do different emojis.
Am I on there still?
Yeah, you are.
I see you.
And then you can just kind of walk through the
Finding
camp.
The
content.
kids probably just know how to do this.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. Like there's a map. It's kind of fun.
Is that the backpack? That's
There
the back.
looks like there's a backpack right there,
Does that
maybe.
look
So I just go.
If you click on that, if you click on it, it should give you something.
Have opportunities to meet in live class connects with your teachers and
Which
classmates.
Emote
column?
unlock challenge. Oh.
Hmm.
And even interact with friends.
Which column shows if your assignment is.
So this is
completed?
again a silent world. In an actual world, if you in the actual world that was being moderated, when you guys got next to each other, you'd be able to actually hear and talk with each other. There's a chat window. There's all sorts of games you can play in our play zones. I've actually seen kids when I've gone into the K-12 zone, they'll actually come to the K-12 zone, they'll go into like one of the little buildings and sit around a table and they'll actually be playing video games and kind of using the K-12 zone as their like little Discord server, if you will,
By a
to
tree?
talk what's happening.
Oh.
So it's kind of cool.
I just found the backpack.
So you guys can go to the K-12 zone. This is a private world that's just created
Yeah.
Interesting, thank you.
Yeah,
Sheila, we want to present you one of our QVSD shirts.
Me?
Yes. Myron got one already, but we
Thank
thank
you.
you in partnership and for trying all the way from California.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Our partnership is so important to us and the students we serve, and it couldn't happen if this board wasn't willing to take on this program and provide this offering for all these kids. So thank you to all of you.
and it means a lot to the families.
It really does, yeah.
We get messages constantly from our families that they are so grateful for this opportunity. And it's because of the support of this board and the school district that allows it to happen.
You can really see it at the graduation when the kids, they pretty much will tell you, I probably wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for this program. Not all of them, but
Yeah,
good chunk
quite
of
a
them.
few.
Mhm.
So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank
Thank
you.
you
That's
for
that was a
coming.
good presentation and, kids, we gotta look at them and some don't fit in the brick and mortar and you supply something that they can do and go get finished up with school. So
Yeah, I
it's a
learned
great
lot
program.
tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And maybe next time we'll get you into I could bring a live K-12. I was concerned about bringing a live K-12 zone in that actually had all the sound because of the owl. I was afraid it was gonna cause some challenges there, but we can get you one of those. You want to play in one, I can get one set up for you.
And if you have to get on the road, we understand.
No, we were singing.
Okay,
We're
good. Oh, you're staying
Yeah.
for night. Good.
3-hour flight, 3.5-hour drive. You can have it.
We've done it sometimes out here.
I've done it sometimes too,
Good.
but no.
Yeah,
We're
it's
here
good.
for the.
My rental car flashed a message. Might be a good time for a break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, we're at the consent agenda. Need to have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda. Something I had a question.
I just started. It's supposed to be Lauren Gay, not Lauren Kerr.
I saw that.
Oh, can you tell us about the Wi-Fi thing?
Can we get a second and then we'll ask
I'll
the
second
question? Oh, Kevin seconded. Did
Yeah,
you
I know.
hear him? Or
Did you hear the
Mike.
correction?
Yeah.
Okay.
The correction, I didn't. hear.
Instead of Lauren Kerr, that should be Lauren Gagnon.
So is that something that $32,000, that's something we have to do every year?
No, we are replacing our internet access points. Just upgrading for faster access points in the buildings. I believe that these are, yeah, that's right. These are covered through what's called E-rate. And so of the $32,000 will be reimbursed approximately $24,000. We get a discount going through E-rate, the federal program. So we'll only pay about $9,000 for them total. But we pay up front and then they reimburse us.
Well, I can imagine with this many computers, you gotta have
Yeah.
something to,
Yeah, keep up with technology.
yeah. it would
I
take
think the
forever to-
current ones that we have in place are coming up to 8-9 years old. And so we're running outdated,
Mhm.
running into issues.
And I had a question with just this part, the amendment.
Susan's
for the
in
voice
process of
contract?
doing that to this store right now.
So we currently have a voice over system, which means our phones connect through our computers. And this is a temporary fix. We're probably going to have to replace the whole system. Those were put in place when Debbie Hull was here. I bet they're 10 years old. This gives us another 3 months so we can figure out how we're going to replace. And it's last minute. We didn't know it, but we've got a long-standing contract that will end if not. And we were just notified that. So this ties it over. It's a 3-month contract till we can figure out what to do. We'll probably be replacing those next year. Those are also reimbursable through the E-rate program, the federal program.
Could you repeat who the second was?
What's
It
that?
was Mike that motioned it, and who was?
Mike me. Yeah,
Kevin
Mike
Okay.
made it, Kevin
seconded.
Any other questions on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Let's see, moving on to reports, superintendent report. Go ahead, Diana, take it away.
Scholarship auction, the 21st and 22nd, we're starting to get items in. And I think it starts at 9 o'clock on Saturday and goes till 8 p.m. and then 10 o'clock on Sunday, and we'll go as long as it takes for the kids to sell everything.
Are they doing online? Didn't they do like Friday or during the week? Some of the guide service did some, what's that?
I haven't seen anything
I
this
haven't
year
either.
on the guide service
So.
one. Yeah, maybe it was.
Typically do that a week before.
Mhm. Yeah,
For the record, there will be a nice car donated by the,
very nice.
yeah, what is it again?
It's a land.
It's a
like
Land Cruiser.
Cruiser.
Yeah.
or-
FJ Cruiser.
Yeah.
FJ, yeah.
Pretty nice, slick car. It
Very
is gonna
nice.
be really hard for us to beat $249,000 like last year.
Mhm.
Just, that's mind boggling. But anyway, come out and join us.
Mhm.
And then this week is appreciation for our classified support staff. We want to thank them. Those are our bus drivers, our kitchen staff, technology, support staff, instructional paraeducators, our office staff, behavior specialists, librarian assistants. All of them do such a great job for our kids. And we couldn't live without them.
Very true.
And, I missed maintenance and custodial staff, of course. Sorry, Bill. We really couldn't do without them. And then also appreciation for our retired teachers. We have a lot of retired teachers who come and support, especially at the elementary school. They volunteer their time and or they are still substituting. And so we're very grateful for our retired teaching staff in the district.
Good, well, thank you. Board member report. I'll just go around table. Mike, you have anything? Kevin?
I'm good.
Dennis?
Did have something. Oh, the debate team made it to state.
The what?
Oh, yeah, that was.
The debate
Yes,
team.
yeah.
Thought that was cool.
Yeah,
So-
speech and debate. Our powerlifting
Oh, and the powerlifting
team
I
had
saw
their
that.
first event last weekend and several third place
Mhm.
winners. Did we have any speech or debate that made nationals?
No, not that I've heard yet, but because the advisor was with,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, and if they do, they travel to the nationals in, I think it's Virginia, graduation. So
Oh, wow.
it'll be right there, but I don't think so.
It's still exciting. So congratulations.
Yes, at Washington did have, I should mention this, we actually had a student that had qualified to go to state for medical terminology.
Wow.
Medical
Oh, cool.
terminology.
Oh.
Well,
Nice.
we could-
Where did they
I
do
didn't
that
even know
at?
that
I
existed.
can't
That was a
remember
thing.
off the top of my head.
Wenatchee?
I can't remember where it's going to be done, but yeah, that's part of one of our medical programs. We had someone qualify last year as well.
It's neat.
Man, that'd be a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't have much. I do, let's see what I like. Oh, so, spring sports are going on now, even though it's still almost got some snow out there.
There's a soccer game Thursday night,
Yeah.
by the way,
They've been out
and one
there.
Saturday too.
And then baseball also. So I've been going over, watching the first and second grade boys and girls basketball. Now that is funny. That is really intimidating. It's actually pretty nice. So
Mhm.
they have quite a few teams. My granddaughter plays, so it's her first grader. So it's kind of fun. That little gym over there gets packed.
Yes.
Standing room, I had to stand up last night. There's no seats. I finally went over, sat on the bench. But no, it gets a lot of people there, and it's really, really nice to see kids out there having fun, which they do. So yeah, if you get a chance, go over and watch the little guys. They play from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So there's quite a few teams and you get 10 games. That's quite a few
Okay,
for those
that
little,
is.
little ones. So anyway, and then, yeah, so that's about all I had on going on. So, Myron,
I don't have anything
Nothing?
further.
okay, nothing further. Give me another
Oh, come on,
opportunity.
Myron.
No, we're good.
You're good. Okay, real good. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. We have Forks Middle School replacement project. Jay's here to give us an update on the committee meeting and also roll into discussion on the gym roof replacement. So we'll kind of catch both of these at the same time. So
Perfect. Hazel, are you able to share my presentation? So as that's coming up, at our 5th meeting last Thursday with the advisory committee, it was the meeting that I have been talking up since we began. What I was most excited for, I was glad that it did not disappoint from what I hear. From what I hear, everyone enjoyed themselves, got a little bit more insight into what I do on a daily basis as an architect and the decisions that are made and what goes into all of the decisions. So if you go to the next slide, please, Hazel. This was the example I had started the meeting with. Don't be too worried. This is a second high school that I did roughly 8 or 9 years ago. So that's why there's so many ball fields, track, the faded areas in elementary school. This was purely just to show what the end goal will eventually be from that design charrette. It's really conceptual, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a quote unquote, it gives the voters something to see what they're voting for. Again, this is conceptual. It's clearly a very basic outline of the building. You don't really see interior walls, interior circulation, anything like that. It's mostly, this is the general shape we are thinking. This is where we would like the main entrance, the secondary entrance, really visualizing vehicular separation, buses, bus drop off versus parent drop off. Again, a high school, so it's a little bit different. There was student parking in this iteration. But then if you go down, we kind of had a design charrette of multiple pieces. This is not, while these are not all of the spaces that are within your program, these are kind of the main ones, again, just capturing the large spaces themselves. So the blues are your classrooms. There are 2 different shades, not quite captured on the television there, but general classrooms, slightly darker than SPED and art and science. Each of those squares actually represents 4 classrooms. So you could actually think of it as 1 grade level per square. And then purple, admin with the workroom and health, with the library. There's commons, stage and music, gymnasium. That one I specifically did show the court striping because I know that was really big for everybody in regard to one of our key project values of being a community asset. That's a full size high school WIAA regulation size gym. So we show bleachers on just one side though, because it is a middle school, boys and girls lockers, kitchens.
But it is bigger than our current gym, right?
Very much.
I would just want to
bigger
make
gym.
sure that that
Yes.
is there for the record.
Yeah. And then the colors that I had were really to kind of help. For example, the gold pieces should be relatively close to one another. As previously discussed, the idea of having the common stage and gym being able to be opened up to each other for large performances. I think Christmas concerts, things like that. Of course, a locker room should be adjacent to the gym. Library is another large community space, and so having that near the admin, whether that be near horizontally, meaning right next to each other on the first floor, or maybe vertically, maybe the library is right on top of the admin. And so if you go to the next slide, please, Hazel. And so we had 2 large boards, 2 scale with all of these cutouts. We had a gold team and a blue team. And the idea was to let them discuss amongst themselves for 35 minutes. And, how would you design this school with everything that we've talked about before, with our key project values? how do you want to see it? And then eventually we were to come together and I would basically pick out commonalities between the two schemes, and we would kind of leave the meeting with a general agreed upon schematic for conceptual site plan. And so again, bond is still 8 months away. There's a year of design after a bond passes. So while this is not a set in stone design, the next slide is getting into what we had discussed. So again, key project values always being on the forefront of the mind. Spartan Avenue there on the left of the school. You can kind of see Forks High School just on the bottom to the south of the middle school. I know I don't need to tell you guys where your schools are. So the first thing that both projects determined was the concept of the setback from Spartan Avenue. The idea of really liking the middle school to closely align with the setback with the high school. It would allow parents to have a continuous drop-off loop from the high school to the middle school. The facade on Spartan Avenue, that would be the quote unquote front of the school, the existing bus loop. When you take that along with the constraints of the existing roads, that highlighted box is kind of the Forks Middle School footprint that we were looking to work within. And then if you go down to the next slide, please. And so this is the first floor. Both projects determined had U-shaped designs. They also liked that the gym was to the south near the bus loop. That's where students would be entering. So there are 2 stars there, the large pink star basically meaning the main entrance at the drop off at the front of the school, and then the smaller pink star. We actually split it between the commons and the gym, so that when students are coming in prior to school, they could go straight into the commons. Essentially think of it as the left door would lead you to the commons. The right door for after school events would lead you to the gymnasium. And so parents can park to the south and go directly into the gym without giving them access to the rest of the school. And then on the second floor, again, more classrooms. Oh, sorry, Hazel, can you go back? This is my fault. I meant to mention. So admin on the first floor, it was actually determined if we did art and science and sped on the first floor, kind of at the corners of the building, and then that leaves one cluster of classrooms that would allow 5th graders to be on the first floor. They're of course elementary aged, they're at a middle school, but it separates 5th graders from 6, 7, 8. Again, we're flexible in terms of number of classrooms per grade. That's one of our key project values of a flexible design, but in general, having at least 4 general ed classrooms on the ground floor. Again, also being able to be near the playground for them and the covered play. And then that green doesn't have to be all of that space for grass, but just a space. Soccer is very popular during recess and before and after school. Could also have parking off of A Street, which would allow people after hours to park and utilize the basketball court at the covered play if necessary. This doesn't show, we're not going to get too into the weeds in terms of fence lines and things like that. That'll be determined during the design phase. And now, sorry, Hazel, now if you go to the second floor. So now you can see the faded down elements that are only first floor related, which is mostly the, of course, site elements, but also the gold activities wing is what I would call it. And then you have your 3 clusters, again, considering 6, 7, and 8, and then a library over the admin. Last thing I'll just note, the puzzle pieces, unlike it's not a true puzzle and that every piece fits exactly. These are purely diagrammatic. It'll look better when I do like the full plan. This was just what we had come up with initially. Of course, it doesn't show things like the stairs, the elevator, but again, this is purely conceptual. Yeah, that is where we ended up.
So is there going to be a playground? Or is that?
Yeah, the playground is the brown off of, on the first floor,
Perfect.
off of the
Oh, it
fifth
does say
grade
playground.
classrooms.
Because my grandkids would want to play.
Okay, yeah.
There's
No.
some terms.
It's not there in 3 years. Jay told me March 10th.
And then I think the real other thing that came out is having that area with a big gymnasium. We heard that loud and clear.
Mhm.
For space for all the programs that we have at night. But having that section by the commons where you can block that off so kids, parents, community has access to it, but not to the rest of the building we don't have to worry about.
Mhm. Yeah, and also having that art science near the gym and the music rooms, it kind of gives that whole southern bar, what I'll call of the school, that whole southern portion of the school is really like the extracurriculars. 6, 7, 8 will do their general ed on the second floor, and then when they have science class, they go down to the first. If they have art class, if they have music, band, PE, that's when they make their way down to the south end of the school. Again, separating them from fifth graders.
Good.
Is there going to be a time when we open this up to the public to come in and look?
Yep. So after tonight, I'm actually going to make it look pretty, kind of like the first example.
And there will be communication in the Forks Forum,
Mhm.
on our Facebook page, on our website, going out early next week. That'll kind of go over where we are in the process to communicate with the community.
But yeah, that is the whole end goal is to get this site plan to the public to, again, they see what they're voting for.
Mhm.
It'll be very diagrammatic, but they'll at least see. General side of the school, they'll see that it's 2 stories. That was another thing that was common between the two groups, was it was a 2-story school, and obviously reduce the overall footprint of the building. It's also cheaper to build
Build
than
up.
out. Yes.
And we need parking.
Yes.
And we need outdoor. The other thing that we heard from all committee members were the importance of the playground area for kids to play soccer or another related ball. And then the gym space that kept coming up over and over again.
Mhm.
Mike, you can chime in. You've been to all the meetings too.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see it from the very start to
Mhm.
where we're at right now. So I guess we just decided on a 2-story building without really a
Mhm.
lot of input from the public, but committee-wise, it just seemed like the way to go.
Mhm.
So I hope everybody agrees with that.
What we'll have to do, and we're gonna, the survey that we sent out to the parents and the staff, we've got good results on that. We'll send the same survey out. But part of my messaging to the community, I'm already booking places where I will go and speak, is that if we want the square footage on a single floor, it eliminates the ability to have a playground. You can't have both.
The
Yeah,
larger
there's
gym,
no
the
way.
parking.
Yeah.
And like safety. There's only where the stars are. That's the only
Those are the
places
2
that you
places
can
get,
enter.
yeah. The big star is during school. That's where you enter. The little star is students when they get off of the bus, they can enter in there. And again, the middle school basketball game, that's where they enter. And then they can't get into the rest of the school.
It's okay.
Yeah. So that eliminates the issues we have with safety where there's so many entrances and kids coming and going between buildings. That was, I think, the number one priority of the committee is student safety.
Great.
Good.
Looks good.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Let's see, the
Gym
gym
roof.
replacement. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Kind of go into that.
Do you want to start, Diana?
Well, I was just gonna say before we actually look at the proposal that Jay has, and I have Bill here as well, who's really been boots on the ground, Bill and Jay. And then I put in front of you, you authorized to have a building envelope expert company to come in to see what was going on. And you can read that. You can take that home. It's a lovely read. There's lots of pictures. But I thought that Jay and Bill could kind of walk you through what we have learned. And then I want to talk about some next steps. But anyway, why don't you tell them what the problem is first?
Alrighty. So basically, initially, there's an underlying problem back when it was built in the 2000s. So when they originally did the roof, and looking at the design, they missed a barrier, basically a vapor barrier that goes over the top of the metal. And so it goes metal, vapor barrier, then your insulation, and then you've got your air gap, and then you've got your plywood on the top. We don't have that vapor barrier there. So all that moisture and stuff that comes to the gym comes up. Now, we didn't see a problem because it was underlined, and we didn't see it because we had a bigger vented ridge cap, and that helped to keep that from being a problem. So when they redid the roof, they didn't see it. There was nothing there to say that we had this problem until we started having this issue that came up after the new roof build. After the new roof build, they reduced the size of the vented ridge cap. So they changed that, and so we don't get the same amount of air. Now it's a large vented ridge cap that comes up, out, and then it's vented underneath. And they also vented the intake. They changed the venting on the intake. So now the intake intake is larger than what's coming out the top of the roof. So that air is coming up. It's getting stuck in there. It can't get up. And then we got all the moisture coming up that's getting through the insulation and such from underneath, and it's warping our plywood. And that's not to say Malarkey on their side. There was some issues with their shingle a little bit, but it was just some added glue that was in there. But that's not the real problem. The underlying problem is the roof is warping due to that moisture getting trapped. And so in a nutshell, would you say that's what it is? And so Nexus really did a good investigation on it. When they were here, they were thinking it's coming from the top, and a lot of that water it's because that plywood was twisting and bowing, and the water was getting down in there. And so in order to fix it, and Jay and I've gone over this so many different ways, trying to save money, trying to figure out the best route. Diana's been on the phone with the insurance company. She's been trying to find legal help and a few other things on this.
So let me tell you what that means from our own insurance. We have what is called property insurance. Property insurance is if you have a windstorm that damages your roof and then it damages your floor or your walls, your infrastructure, we get paid for that. Our insurance does not cover what they call builder's risk when there's construction documents or when there's an issue of how it's installed. And so and again, I want you to look at what the potential fixes are, we would need to hire an attorney who would help us because BLRB was the who designed the top of the roof. In doing my research, it might be a combination of the design, the way it was implemented or built. It could be a number of things, but we would need legal assistance to help us if we were going to request or demand for the architect or the builder's insurance to pay for the cost.
So we have an NDL warranty on the roof, but that's for the Malarkey side of it, the shingle side of it, which is a no dollar limit warranty. Problem is, it's not their shingle that's causing the problem. It's the underlayment underneath that's causing the problem. The wood is twisted.
Because they forgot that part.
It's what's underneath on the venting side of it. So there's other things too, because Malarkey did help with the spec through BLRB. And so they asked for double synthetic paper on top, which doesn't breathe. Well, prior to that, it was just regular tar paper on top. So it could breathe a little bit through that tar paper, would get out through how it's stapled together and stuff. And with the double underlayment, there's no breathing there either. So it's really that moisture's trapped. Air's trapped.
The issue was always there with there being no vapor barrier. The problem was, as Bill mentioned, you changed the paper. There was wind-driven rain getting into the vented cap, so they changed the vented cap. And now, even though it was technically an issue, it was getting wet and drying because there was more air movement. And now there's not air movement, so now that's why all of a sudden, in only 3 years, the roof is failing. It's because what was done in 2000 wasn't correct. essentially.
So scenario wise, we're looking at what we can do and not ever have this problem ever again. And so Jay's looked into several things. Nexus has worked with him on a solution. It's not really a solution. It's basically we've got to tear a majority of the roof off and get down to at least the insulation that's on the roof. So there's 4 inches of insulation that's right on the pan deck that's there. And then they can go over the top of that with a barrier. And then after that, they can put another sheet of foam on that. And then they can put their framing on top of that, plywood over that, and then they would put down a single ply roofing. The reason we're looking at a single ply roofing, it's just a great big sheet, and they can make it look like it's metal. They can make a few different things depending on how much we want to spend. But you see those, it's like a big rubber sheet that goes across that whole thing instead of being shingled. So you never have to worry if that roof moves just a little bit and something happens just a little bit, that shingle can't leak. It's just one big whole roof, and that insulation kind of absorbs that any type of movement. But
yeah, so just to kind of echo that, 2 options would be take it all the way down to the acoustical deck. It's acoustical deck because there's holes in it, there's perforations. So you typically do that in a gymnasium, helps trap the noise so it's not so echoey in there. You can take it down to the acoustical deck and you essentially rebuild it correctly. You start with your vapor barrier, your substrate board, your vapor barrier, then your insulation, and then you have a single ply roof. Or I've worked with Nexus, we can keep that first layer of insulation, then go to the substrate board and then your vapor barrier. The reason we need more insulation is because once you expose the existing insulation, you're no longer grandfathered in. So when this was designed in 2000, you needed R30. R30, it's just the resistance to transfer heat. And so that was 4 inches. And now code is R38. So we can keep R30 and you just need another small layer to get the extra to R38. You didn't need to do that 3 years ago because you didn't get down to your insulation. You took off the shingles, took off the paper, replaced just a handful of plywood, and then put it back on top. So that's why you didn't need to do that before.
And now we're going down all the way down to the nuts and bolts of everything, trying to get to it.
But that ridge vent is being used, the new ridge vent is being used by other buildings, schools, whatever.
It's being used.
Are they having problems too?
No, so the 2000 building by DLR that does not have the vapor barrier, the BLRB to the 2010 building does have the vapor barrier. It has the exact same vented ridge cap. It's the combination of the vented ridge cap with no vapor barrier that's the issue. It's not, the vented ridge cap is an appropriate vented ridge cap. You have it on this school actually. It's that you don't have the vapor barrier before. So.
And it says it's restricted in there, so so it's restricted that air too. So
the head scratcher is, why does it build up condensation sometimes, but not all the time? I mean, condensation is hot, cold, but
I mean, this has to do with the temperature it is outside. If there's a game going on versus no game, well, the space is probably heated the same. All the body heat just in this room right here, the room is warmer than it is if we weren't here. And then you multiply that by 10x in a gym. Guys are running around getting sweaty and girls and.
We don't see much condensation issue though on dripping from the ceiling onto the floor. What you're seeing right now is because that roof moved and we actually have water coming through. Is what it is. It's if we move that tarp right now, you'd see water coming through the roof.
But there has been some problems in the past because that's why we replaced that whole portion.
Right.
And
you were getting wind-driven rain through your really open ridge cap, which was designed right. So then you went with a non-open vented ridge cap, but then that restricted the airflow, and now you don't have a vapor barrier, and it just.
But what I didn't realize until now, looking at the pictures, Bill showed me this, there's some places where there was condensation and moisture on the steel that's gotten worse with the new ridge cap.
It's just more leaking.
More
is what
leaking,
it
yeah.
was.
But I
Beforehand,
would agree that yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me either.
So
So what
actually,
it did is the condensation ruined the panels and warped them, and then when we get this heavy rain, it starts leaking.
exactly.
Yep.
For rain.
took the plywood and bowed
Right.
it and twisted it, and that caused those shingles.
So
to
over
lift up.
time, with all that different moisture in there,
Mhm.
it warped different
Yes.
places. Because I remember seeing water in the gym 4 or 5 years ago. Leaked when we've had practices in there.
Oh, on the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah, we used
roof-
to have buckets. I remember when it first happened, and then now this year has been really bad. We've had to cancel. We had to
Mhm.
move 2 or 3 games over
Yeah.
to there because in heavy rain. But in normal rain, it doesn't really
It doesn't really leak much on a
leak
normal
at
rain.
all.
It's
It's it's just.
if you
So
look-
basically, we do have a problem, and over time, it just really rough. And because of design,
Mhm.
right? So.
And so I actually talked to the director of estimating at Corsman Construction. They're actually the contractor doing the Nia Bay K-12 school down the road, if you will. So they're very aware of, the cost, frankly, to get people all the way out to Forks. And we went 2 options, basically, technically 4 options. There's what I talked about, getting down to the deck, keeping the insulation. And then there's within each of those, you can either go a self-adhered single ply roof or a mechanically attached single ply roof. A self-adhered is technically a better roof because there's less holes securing the roof to the substrate, but gives everybody options. I also talked with Corsmo and Nexus about the difference between asphalt shingle and a single ply roof. And it actually honestly surprised me. They said because of the labor savings in a single ply roof, because you're just rolling these really large sheets, it basically offsets the cost savings from the cheaper material of an asphalt shingle. So when it's actually an installed product, while asphalt shingle is cheaper to buy off the shelf, to actually install it is more laborious because you're putting 5 nails per shingle, and your shingle's this big, and you have a 28,000 square foot roof. So
Yeah.
22,000 square foot roof.
So the option 1 is the single, and no, the option 2 is the one where we would roll out one single piece. Is that right?
Both of them are you roll out one single piece. The difference between option 1 and option 2 is option 1 is you take off the entire roof assembly and you expose that acoustical deck, and you essentially build it like it frankly should have been built. Or option 2 is you leave the insulation and you build a new roof on top of it.
Got it.
One underlying benefit of option 2, other than just the cost savings, because you're keeping some insulation there. I understand you guys do summer school in the gym, and you would be able to keep doing it in the gym if we did option 2. But you couldn't with option 1, because option 1, again, it's a perforated deck. You'd have debris falling on desks on the gym. You wouldn't be able to have kids there.
So that has to be done in 2 stages, because you've got it starting in June of 26 and ending September of 27.
Oh, no, that is September 26th. That is my mistake. It's done this summer. That is a typo. I apologize. So it should be June 22nd, 2026, August 27th, 2026. And completion occupancy September 2026.
Either option's expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, no, I fully understand that.
Makes
It's
my
a
stomach
big
hurt.
roof. I do not like having these conversations.
And again, the only other option is us looking into a demand letter, basically, or getting legal assistance to see. My understanding is there's a 6-year look back where you've got an opportunity, if you feel like the design was wrong and it wasn't at our fault, where you could, that doesn't mean we're going to get money. That just means that we would pay money to go after money. That's not ours. And my understanding is then also that you cannot fix it until you get that legally sorted out.
Mhm.
So we would have to live with this until we could get that legally sorted out. And again, without me having legal representation, that's as much as I know, but I'm gonna be really transparent.
Mhm.
Jay and I have already talked about
Yeah.
this.
But the roof has been modified since BLRB designed it. You've got a different
No,
ridge vent.
no,
on
The
it now.
DLR
original
did it.
design was DLR
In 2000.
in 2000.
But it
And-
was modified due to the new Vintage Ridge cap,
With-
It
yeah,
was
by
modified
BLRB
in
for 3 years ago.
2022.
which exacerbated the issue
Yeah.
is what it was.
Yeah, so you couldn't,
Because-
you're past basically statute of limitations on DLR, which is unfortunately when the actual issue occurred. Now it's, do you want to go after the BLRB's insurance because their design exaggerated the issue?
Yeah.
I assume their stance is going to be the
Oh.
real issue was the vapor barrier, but I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney, you know, I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
We made 24 years on the first roof is what it was. And then the big reason for replacement was all the granule loss on it up towards the peaks and stuff. It was really bad. And so that was the change. And then the new specs and such that went into this is what kind of changed things. And also that we had the water blowing into the Bend Ridge cap running down and dripping onto the floor in those big storms. And so that was the big push behind changing the Bend Ridge cap out of it, was because of that. And so, you know, because it got choked down, we're seeing this happen a lot faster on the building itself. And so.
So I guess the timeline is that you'll get a hold of an attorney to
Uh-huh.
see what our options are,
Mhm.
and then from
Mhm.
there we'll come back and there's no voting on anything tonight.
Well, the voting was to go through this contract, but then if you look at the
Oh, there is a-
timeline, yeah, so I don't know if you want to,
There's a board discussion, no no motion on it, so
oh,
that's what I'm asking.
discussion, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll bring it back
You bring it
once I
back,
have additional
Yeah,
information,
okay.
yeah.
and then from that point, we have to make a decision which way we want to go.
Yeah.
on it. I mean, if it's worth going after it, or is it just
Yeah.
bite the bullet and get it fixed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also,
I feel like I need time to.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so
why
this
there's
is not-
no,
this is not a small chunk of change.
no, and then also I have the report that you can take home from that. That would be step one that we would want an expert to do anyway. So we did the right thing with that,
Yeah.
that process to figure out what was going on. And then once I get recommendation or some guidance from an attorney, then I'll let you know what that is. And that would be executive session. That's one of the things we can go into executive session for.
Okay.
So the funding would come from where? Our rainy day account or what?
It would have to, yeah.
Rainy day with the roof.
Mhm.
yeah.
And again, then, you know, we've got other projects that we're ready to roll, the elementary roofing. But again, until we really figure this part out, this is a need, it has to be
It's
done.
a priority.
Yeah, it's a priority. So we might have to push the elementary roof off another year and until we figured all this out. I'm going to propose, and I know we've got the short-term facility plan. We'll do the 20-year plan. And at my conference that I was at in Nashville, I got a really powerful tool where we can put all of the projects we're going to do, and then, or you put them down to the left, and then you have the years at the top, and then you use strategic colors to say this could potentially move based on some other higher needs projects. And so you would enter this into that. So it's a moving document. And I think it would help us explain to the public more and our staff and our parents why we have to move some things sometimes, depending on grants, depending on that. That's a great example of we got to get that fixed sooner than the other. So I'll be working on that document. Yeah. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And I doubt if the insurance option is gonna be they're not gonna pay for that.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Not after that long.
Okay,
I
well,
have
thank,
given Paul Hampton with City of Forks a heads up, and so he's aware of the expeditious review that will be required.
If
'cause
we
it'll
needed
need
to
go
do
through
that.
Permit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, real good, thank you,
Thanks.
Thank you.
I guess.
Bad news.
Thanks for the bad news.
Think about the advisory committee and all the pretty pictures.
Okay, moving on to new business. We got a resolution 09-2526 commitment of fund balance for Jewel settlement.
We
So we're still
continued-
have that, huh?
We continue to get more funds for the Jewel settlement. I think we're up to like 70 some $1,000. So
And this one's for 7,600.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh wait, we have a total of 69,000. There you go at the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, we're
And have we spent some of it so far on our prevention?
We have,
Yeah.
we had hidden in plain sight. We
Which is
spent,
amazing.
yeah, and we're gonna do that again this year. The hidden in, we're gonna try to plan it better for night, but we want to do that. I would get that out to any
really
parent.
good.
That was exceptional. I learned a ton. I was like
Same.
totally blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Virtual one this Thursday.
What now?
Virtual hidden plain sight this Thursday.
It's this Thursday already?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And virtual, so parents get on or?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that was, I think every parent needs to watch that.
Okay, so do I have a motion for that commitment of fund balance for Jewel settlement?
I'll make a motion for the resolution 9-2526 for the commitment of fund balance for Jewel settlement.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more questions on it? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, asset prevention report, Forks High School. So this is a yearly.
Yeah, this is
report.
any building that was built after
96.
1996. We have to yearly do this asset preservation where you mark the condition of the building and every 3 years.
For 30 years.
Oh,
30 years.
for 30 years. It's part of the whole why you can tap into the school construction assistance program. I mean, for funding.
So this is our rating, Bill, that we do the ratings
Correct. They meshed
because
the-
every, what, 4
the
years?
2000 building and the 2012 together now is what
Right.
we did. And so that's the rating. It will go up and down over time. So it came up some in a few areas because we bought some new furnishings and things like that. The roof really brought it down because we had to bring the roof down to poor from excellent because it was
Yeah.
great shape. So
But then we,
things down.
every 4 years, we have a third party,
every 6 years.
every 6 years.
And we
Okay.
just had 2 years ago, I think
Yeah.
it was, we had it
Okay.
gone through and done. The big thing is with our facility is that, over time, we get little things that happen and then they take that, a few ballasts here and there that go out.
Mhm.
Well, then you have to tie that to your ballast. So it puts things into fair instead of, the good condition because you're losing some here. Every time we have these power outages, we have our boiler goes down. Well, then you have expansion and contraction on all the boiler pipes. So it contracts where these big hoses are up in the attic spaces. And so what happens is it starts to seep some, it seeps down onto the floor, makes a spot there. And you got to go back up there and tighten those up just a little bit. And so it's things like that over time that work on these things. So it's, we're in pretty good shape really with the facility and you will see it going up here and there. CTE, we got some painting to do in there that we'll bring that one up. This one here, we get that roof put back on and we try to stay with the furnishings and some of the mechanical that's starting to show some wear. Things will continue to come back up.
Okay.
But they merged the two buildings together though, so it kind of made things go, the 2000's older than the 2011, so it kind of brought some things down, so.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So do we have a motion on the Forks High School? Asset prevention.
I'll make a motion for the asset preservation report for the Forks High School.
Second.
Kevin, second. Okay. Any more questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the Forks High School, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Forks High School CTE, I have a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the Forks High School CTE preservation report. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, hearing none, motion carried. Yeah, we're at the end, so we got adjournment, so we're done.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's good seeing